Picture the back of a computer in the early 1990s. There's a port just for the mouse, a different one just for the printer, another for a joystick, a separate one for the keyboard. None of them work with each other, and half of them require you to restart the whole machine just to plug something in. Today, almost every device on your desk plugs into the exact same tiny oval connector. So how did a dozen incompatible ports shrink down into just one? The first real attempt to fix this mess was the Universal Serial Bus, USB, and the name said it all. One connector for everything. The original rectangular plug, USB Type A, was a genuine improvement, except for one famous flaw. You could never tell which way was up, so you'd flip it, fail, flip it again, and somehow still get it wrong the first two tries. As devices got smaller, that big rectangle stopped fitting, so the industry kept shrinking it. Mini USB, then micro USB, while printers and external drives clung to their own separate connector shapes entirely. By the early 2000s, the universal cable wasn't universal at all. It was a pile of similar but incompatible plugs. In 2014, the group that oversees USB standards finally unveiled the fix, USB Type-C. On the surface, it just looked like a smaller, neater oval. Underneath, it was a completely different piece of engineering. Older USB cables carried just 4 wires inside, basically power, ground, and 2 for data. USB-C crams 24 separate connections into that same small space. That extra room is what made the connector symmetrical. Because the pins are mirrored on the top and bottom half of the plug, there's no longer a right side up. The cable can be inserted either way, and the port electronically figures out which orientation it's in and routes the signal accordingly. The flipping problem that had annoyed an entire generation of computer users was solved with wiring, not luck. But those extra pins weren't just there for convenience. They unlocked something called alternate mode, the ability for a USB-C port to temporarily repurpose some of its connections to carry an entirely different kind of signal. That's why a single USB-C port can output full video to an external monitor, carry high-quality audio, or transfer data, all without needing a separate port for each job. The biggest shift, though, was power. Older USB ports were only ever designed to push out a small trickle of electricity, enough to slowly top up a phone, but nowhere near enough to charge a laptop. USB-C introduced a negotiation system called power delivery. The cable and the connected device essentially have a conversation about how much power is actually needed. A pair of earbuds gets a tiny trickle. A power-hungry laptop can pull well over 100 watts through the exact same style of connector. That negotiation is the reason laptops stopped needing those heavy, proprietary charging bricks. They could finally just share the same port as everything else. Here's the catch almost nobody warns you about. Not every USB-C cable can actually do all of this. Because the connector supports so many different functions, manufacturers can legally sell a cable that physically fits the port, but only supports the most basic, slow charging. No fast power delivery, no video, no high-speed data. Visually, it can be identical to a cable that supports everything. The only real way to know the difference is checking the specs printed on the packaging, not the shape of the plug. There's also a quiet durability win baked into the symmetrical design. Because the connector can be inserted either way, the physical wear from years of daily plugging and unplugging gets spread more evenly across the contacts, instead of grinding down the exact same pins every single time the way older one-directional connectors did. So that small symmetrical plug wasn't an accident. It was a complete rebuild of what a universal cable could actually do, solving the flip problem, combining power, video, and data into one port, and scaling electricity up to laptop charging levels. A tiny shape, doing a lot more work than it gets credit for. If you liked unpacking the why behind something you use every single day, hit subscribe. This is FactorFume, and there's a lot more of this kind of thing coming.